Friends, it has been a wild 24 hours with the rapid development of Tropical Storm Nadine and now Hurricane Oscar near the Turks and the Caicos. I've got all the newest information that you need to know. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. Great to see you on a Saturday. To say that it has been a crazy 24 hours is, I think, the understatement of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Certainly thought we would start this video with Tropical Storm Nadine and the impacts it has brought today through portions of Belize and Central America and the Yucatan. And I promise you, we will deep dive into that storm. But we have to start this video off with the newest storm, and that is Hurricane Oscar. Yes, Hurricane Oscar has developed very quickly today from a invest yesterday to a tropical storm early this morning to a very small hurricane as we've gone through the early afternoon hours of this Saturday. There is where Oscar is right now. Again, it's a very small, compact hurricane, but hurricane hunters have been in and out of the storm all day long, and they found winds of 80 miles an hour. So let's start with those stats. First of all, as of 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on this Saturday, winds 80 miles an hour, Cat 1 hurricane. Pressure's 989 millibars. It's moving west at 12 right now, puts about 165 miles from the southeast Bahamas or very near the Turks of the Caicos. Hurricane warnings are in effect for all the Turks and Caicos and all the southeast Bahamas. We also have a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for a few of the Cuban provinces, Guantanamo, Holguin, and Las Tunas, and then a tropical storm watch for the Cuban province of Camagüey as well. Again, this is a small hurricane. The eye is only 3 miles wide, and hurricane force winds only extend 5 miles from the center of circulation. So unless Oscar goes right over you, you're probably going to get tropical storm conditions in these areas. But that being said, it does look like it might go right over portions of the Turks, right over Cockburn Town, potentially the southern side of the Caicos as well. All the red lines that you see are our hurricane warnings. So for the Inagua Islands, Mayaguana, the Ackland Islands of southeast sides of the Bahamas, and then the blue line there for the northeast side of Cuba. Again, an extremely rapidly intensifying storm. Let's take a look at what's happening right now on the visible satellite imagery. And again, you can just clearly see small compact storm, but packing a punch as it moves through. Forecast for the Hurricane Center takes it west, basically right over the Inagua Islands here in the southeast Bahamas. It then stalls out basically along the shoreline or near the shore of the northeast side of Cuba, and then actually pulls back north into the east. If you see this blue line here, that's the cold front that has worked its way very far south for this time of the year. This cold front is well south of Florida and into the central side of the Bahamas. I know it's close to Florida, and I know there's some shell shock from Helene and Milton, but this is not Florida's storm. This cold front is going to put the brakes on Oscar moving any farther north into the west, and will bend it back to the north and to the east. Now that's going to be a problem for portions of the southeast Bahamas and maybe the Turks of the Caicos, because it's moving at 12 miles an hour right now, but it is forecast to slow up. And the worst weather will be on the north side of the storm as it moves west, and then on the east side of the storm as it bends back north into the east. That means that a large portion of the southeast Bahamas and the Turks of the Caicos could experience tropical storm conditions for the next 3 days. We might have tropical storm conditions in places like the Acklands through Monday night or early on Tuesday with some locally heavy rainfall and very gusty winds, because again, you kind of get it as it moves to the south of you and then as it bends back and heads basically right over your heads. There's going to be some gusty winds north of here, but again, it's not going to directly impact places like Nassau and Grand Bahama. Now for the central side of the Bahamas, you guys could get some tropical storm conditions moving in, and we'll see if we get additional tropical storm warnings issued slightly farther up to the north. But again, it's an amazing small storm here. You can see we had a 30-mile-an-hour wind gust presently, but those winds will go up through portions of the Turks. Look, if you live in this area or you know someone who does, please take this seriously. Again, we could have hurricane conditions in these areas and then much more widespread tropical storm conditions over the next several days. All right, so let's talk about that. The arrival of tropical storm force winds. Again, moving west right now, then bending back to the north and eventually to the north and to the east. So we could get tropical storm conditions on the far northwest side of this for Andros and Eleuthera and portions of the Abacos and New Providence. More than likely, they'll stay a little bit farther south, Exuma, Cat Island, Long Island, San Salvador, Rum Cay, places like that in the central Bahamas. And then again, turning up to the north and to the east. So you can see the slow movement here. We're basically, it may not be until Tuesday morning that the tropical storm force winds begin to pull away from the southeast Bahamas and portions of Turks and the Caicos. So we've got a few days here to monitor what is going to be some impacts for these areas. Certainly a wind impact, obviously kicking up the seas and going to bring some potential heavier rainfall. So this is from the Hurricane Center. Again, main impacts, Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas. More than likely, eastern Cuba would see tropical storm impacts being on the west side of the storm rather than hurricane impacts, but there is a hurricane watch for the provinces that I mentioned. Rainfall totals will be 2 to 4 inches, locally up to 6, with a storm surge in portions of Turks and the Caicos and potentially the southeast Bahamas that'll be monitoring of 2 to 4 feet. Of course, that's above any of the high tide cycles. Now, it will really depend on where that heaviest rain falls. There's a lot of open ocean in that part of the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos, but if we get some right over land, we could have areas of more than 6 inches. Now, again, the wind potential, sustained winds are 80 miles an hour. It is forecast to get up to 85 miles an hour as it heads towards the Inagua Islands. But gusts will be even higher than that. But again, it's a really small eye. That eye right now is only 3 miles wide. It's unbelievable that we've actually rolled off 15 named storms now, with Nadine and Oscar going by the wayside in just the past 24 hours. So 15 named storms now in the Atlantic hurricane season. Friends, thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Appreciate that. Again, thank you for the support. It really helps out the channel. Obviously, we're going to have great detail of this storm coming up. We'll be running our 24/7 radar on the live part of the Meteo Mundo channel as well to keep you updated with this, and I will have video updates. But for our friends in the Turks and the Caicos and the southeast Bahamas, please take this very seriously. You live in this area, let us know what the weather has been like. You have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. But as I zoom out, too far by it, mind you. Again, let us be clear that although this is tracking west right now, this is going to be forced back to the north and to the east. Now, we can look at some of the different models here. I can switch over to that. I want to be clear, though, that the models obviously have not handled this storm well, right? Have not had a good handle on what this thing is actually doing. So you're not going to see the prominence of the storm here like on the GFS model that you should. It doesn't really have much. Unfortunately, the models aren't going to really help us out, except for the fact that it does take whatever it develops and pushes it back north and to the east. Again, we really can't go any farther to the north and to the west. If I switch over to the wind field here associated with that, let's go over to our sustained winds. Again, you're going to see nothing here on the GFS that really resembles what Oscar is, and that is, of course, a hurricane at this point in time. The European model did do a lot better with this storm, but even it's just too weak, and I'll show you some of the products with the European model coming up as well. But again, you can see what it develops pushing here, and then it does blow it back north into the east, but it also just kind of blows its top, and that's not what's expected to happen. This storm is expected to at least hold together over the next 4 or 5 days as it tracks back north and east through portions of the Bahamas. So not a lot to look at with that one as far as the model goes. It just, again, doesn't have a very good feel for it. But if we look at real quickly here, if I switch over to the wind vectors and bring those up, just again to be clear that we have north winds fighting this storm. So there's not going to be this envelope for it to go to the north and to the west. So again, not heading anywhere near Florida. Now we get to the other storm that I thought we would obviously start this video with here, but take a second real fast and just bring back on some of the wind gust data here. These are temperatures. These are going to be your wind gusts. We'll bring back on our buoy data as well. Okay, Tropical Storm Nadine made landfall earlier today in Belize as a relatively minimal tropical storm, winds of around 45 miles an hour, but we've had some rain impacts. We've obviously had some wind impacts as well. The storm at the hour located near San Ignacio, Belize, and is tracking off towards the west. Here's the interesting thing. The center of circulation might be able to hold together, move across Central America, portions of Mexico, and then get into the Eastern Pacific where it could redevelop again. So we have a little bit more of a southwest push from the hurricane center, which would take the remnants of Nadine and potentially turn it into another storm into the eastern Pacific. Wind gusts that you see right now in miles an hour on your screen. We talked about the potential impacts it would have all the way up towards Cancun and Cozumel. Obviously, the biggest impacts we had for landfall earlier on this Saturday was across places like San Pedro and Orange Walk and Belize City, Dangriga, on over towards the Placencia area there, Roatan, San Pedro Sula, so portions of Guatemala, Chetumal there, up in the southern sides of Quintana Roo. All these areas, heavy rainfall, gusty winds. Now, so many friends from Belize sent me a lot of different pictures and videos. Want to share some of those with you guys right now. We'll start off with Nigel, Belize City earlier today, right there along the coastline. Just really squally weather, right? Again, I think I left the audio up on some of these videos, so you might hear a little bit of that wind rustling across that area. Appreciate Nigel sending in that video. This is Eduardo. This was overnight in the Dangriga area there. And again, you can hear the wind howling. I hope I left that audio up. I can't hear it, but I hope you guys can in this recording. He was there near the coastline, near the beaches, and just nice, fresh, solid winds, 40, 45 miles an hour with some higher gusts there. This is from Amanda and Mike Cyphers. They're in the Cayo district inland in Belize. They're looking back down. They're about 800 feet of elevation there. And they just talked about the fog lifting up from some of the lower areas. And again, just very, very moisture-laden air coming in with Nadine, some heavier rainfall. I was looking for some rainfall reports and unfortunately couldn't find any. So if you guys have any local reports you guys want to pass along in the comment section, let me know. Earl Hamilton sent me a couple of pictures and videos, and I appreciate that. This one is from Belmopan City of the Belize River. This was yesterday, just keeping an eye on the river rise in Belize City. Now, you guys know, again, with elevation, it takes a while for some of the water to work its way into the lower elevations towards the rivers and some of the, the lower areas. So we could continue to see these river rises over the next couple of days. Sometimes the river flooding is a byproduct and it takes a while for all that water to get back down to the lower elevation. So we'll keep an eye out for places like the Belize River. And then Darren Hensel, from the San Ignacio area sent this sunset yesterday in Belize. He said no filter. Look at that pink sky, kind of on the leading edge as Nadine moved into the area. Appreciate all of my friends in Belize sending me those pictures and videos. Hope you guys did well. Let us know in the comment section below, how's it going right now? But again, we're starting to see the winds collapse. The winds are falling apart. The rain is still going to be an issue here. Again, the official forecast was for 4 to 8 inches of rain. That's 100 to 200 millimeters with some locally higher gusts. It's obviously kicked up sea conditions of the coastline as well, all the way up to Quintana Roo, Cancun, Cozumel. Rougher sea conditions there for the surfers, but also watch out for some beach erosion as well. And again, some potential coastal flooding in these areas. Friends, I promise you, I know that these are 2 big storms. That's not the only situation that's been happening for today as well. Again, give me just 1 second to put these wind gusts back on, and let's talk about some other areas that have had some pretty nasty weather. That's a 46 mile an hour wind gust, St. Lucia earlier today. We've had some squally weather through portions of the Lesser Antilles for today. Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada. There's a 33 mile an hour wind there. Port of Spain, Trinidad earlier. Passing showers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados. 46 mile an hour wind in St. Lucia. I mean, really strong winds coming in here. These are nothing more than tropical downpours. But again, we continue to see that squally weather, even a little bit of lightning right now. So we had a 31 there in Martinique. Some breezy conditions for Dominica. A little bit drier farther north, not as much rain, but if you've had a couple of showers in Guadeloupe or Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Bart's had a 28 mile an hour wind. There in St. Martin, they had a 26 mile an hour breeze. So really solid winds here. And again, some passing showers. Relatively quiet today with a few passing showers again for our friends in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. In Puerto Rico, San Juan had a 30 mile an hour wind gust a little bit earlier in the day. And on the very far south side of Oscar, it's actually been relatively quiet today for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Now we're going to get a little bit more moisture, a few isolated showers and storms here, but on the far south side of a really compact hurricane, we're going to see some fresher winds along the northern coastline. So places like Puerto Plata, the Dominican Republic, will certainly see their seas kicked up. And I've mentioned this before. There's going to have a lot of rough sea conditions with all of these different things that we've talked about. Obviously, some big time swells near Hurricane Oscar. We've had some fresh winds and some swells over the Lesser Antilles as well. The northern side of the Greater Antilles will see those fresh winds and the higher seas. And then obviously the western side of the Caribbean as well. So just some incredible weather here across our area today. And a lot of it has kicked up in short order. We'll also have to watch out for a broad area of disturbed weather in the eastern side of the Atlantic. No pinpoint area from the Hurricane Center as of yet, but something to just monitor here over the week ahead. So let's get into what the forecast looks like now. We're going to look at some of the tropical models as well. First thing though, I'll just run the GFS model over the next couple of days so you kind of just have an idea of what we're going to expect. Again, we'll talk about the European model, which has a slightly better handle on what Oscar is, but we do expect this to pull back to the north and to the east. Scattered showers, breezy conditions will likely continue for the Lesser Antilles, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Could have a little bit more of an impact on the northwest side of the Hispaniola, Haiti, eastern sides of Cuba, obviously with what's happening for Oscar. Now, our friends in Jamaica, again, you're kind of in between. Do not expect direct impacts out of Oscar, again, kind of putting on the brakes near eastern Cuba and then moving back north into the east. So scattered showers and a few storms, but nothing very prominent for Kingston, Portmore, Spanish Town, Negril, Sav-la-Mar, on over towards Montego Bay. Cayman Islands, again, scattered showers, but as Nadine pulls away, you're not going to have as much rain in this area, but some spottier showers. And obviously on the backside of Nadine for the next day or two, we'll have slightly quieter weather through most of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula, except for the far western areas, as obviously Nadine kind of just expands. Now we're not going to have a true center of circulation anymore, so that rain will expand a bit. So, still Belize could get some heavier rain, El Salvador, the far western sides of Honduras and Nicaragua, places like that as it moves off towards the west. And again, we'll see. Maybe this becomes a storm back into the eastern side of the Pacific as well. Take a look real quickly at the wind profile. I want to show you the wind gusts. I think that's kind of interesting as well. Just to again show you the very fresh winds here through a lot of our area. You can see that the winds over 20 miles an hour through just a lot of the Lesser Antilles. Nice fresh winds. Again, we had a gust in St. Lucia today of 46. Some winds gusting 30, 40 miles an hour the next couple of days. It's not out of the question for us here. Obviously, the bigger wind concerns are going to be with what's happening with Oscar, right? Very, very strong winds in a very tight area, but the southeast Bahamas could have several days of tropical storm conditions. So let's look at the ensemble members here. GFS model first. Again, you're not going to see it pick up on Oscar correctly, okay? So we can ignore what that is showing for us here. But later on, and I'm just taking this all the way out until basically the end of time here, the end of the run, that is, towards the latter part of October, you can see more signals here through the Caribbean. We're certainly not done with hurricane season yet, friends. We might get a little bit of a break after Oscar for a few days, but the Caribbean is another area of potential development. Now, the European model, again, has a better handle on Oscar right there and then pulling back north and east, just like the Hurricane Center's track has, okay? That's more than likely exactly what's going to happen with that track. Now, down the road, towards the end of October, just like the GFS model, the European model has more development potentially here in the Caribbean to be monitoring, right? A lot of different areas, a little bit more clustered here in the Central Caribbean. I think that's the next spot to monitor down the road, but it is going to be a while before we get into those details. Now, rainfall totals, again, very significant. Portions of Quintana Roo, Belize, Guatemala, northern Honduras. Very heavy rainfall is possible over the Turks, the Caicos. Again, the southeast Bahamas, eastern Cuba. 4, 6 plus inches of rain, locally higher. It's really just going to depend if that rain falls over the islands or it stays in some of the open waters out there. Obviously, we're not talking about larger land masses here except for Cuba, and that could be brushing the eastern side. Notice that the European model does actually have a little bit more rain coming back into the Windward Islands from Barbados down towards St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago as well, and a little bit less rain for the western sides of Cuba, the northwest Bahamas, portions of the Greater Antilles overall. As far as wave heights go, again, if you're a mariner, please check in with the local boating forecast. But my overall suggestion for you will be for the next several days, please be very cautious. There's just going to be a lot of wind and some very, very high swells kicked up. Again, Western Atlantic, portions of the Eastern Caribbean, certainly the western sides of the Caribbean, and even portions of the Gulf of Mexico as well. Just really, really fresh winds. Small craft should be exercising caution in a lot of these areas. Friends, I'm going to keep you up to date. Again, we'll be running our live radar system with Hurricane Oscar. I'll have plenty of video updates for you guys as well. You can find us across all social media. We're not just on YouTube, but we appreciate you guys finding us here. Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. If you want to send me a picture or video, and I really do appreciate it. I did not have time to show all of the pictures and videos that I got from Belize. So thank you to all of those who shared those with me. I do appreciate it. MyMediaMundo@gmail.com. Again, send me those pictures and videos, MyMediaMundo@gmail.com. While you're down in the comment section, thank you for liking and subscribing. If you have a specific question about the forecast, you can drop it in the comment section below as well. It has been a crazy 24 hours, friends. I'll keep you updated with what's happening with Oscar and across the rest of our area. Appreciate you tuning in. Until the next time, you have a great one, and I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.